Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Color Me Bad Lynn. Back on today, we're going to talk about the subject of communication and the art of communication. But before we get into this topic of discussion, I want to welcome you to my channel. If this is your very first time meeting me, hello, I am Color Me Bad Lynn. I am a beauty professional, among many other things. And mainly on my channel, we talk about fragrances that are in my collection, those that are on my wish list, those that are sent to me in samples and given as gifts. We will talk about all things beauty. We'll talk about love, relationships, romance, dating, family issues, and faith, and anything else that you want to talk about. So make sure you leave comments below if you have any questions or comments. And then also you are welcome to send me emails to Dear Color Me. And so today I wanted to talk about the art of communication. This is a topic that discussion that comes up a lot when I'm having conversations with people, especially of the opposite sex. And so I wanted to come on and share my thoughts and my views about the art of communication and the difference between talking a lot and having an effective and healthy communication lifestyle. There is a huge difference. And I know oftentimes, because we don't know and we're not aware, sometimes we think that people that talk a lot are communicating well. And that's not always the case. And so we want to kind of delve into that topic a little bit today and touch on the subject and kind of share my views on the difference between talking a lot, having effective communication, and ineffective communication. Basically just the art of communication. I don't know if any of you know or if you're familiar with the fact that communication, effective communication, is an art and it's a skill. Oftentimes we have placed communication on the back burner for development of relationships, sustainability of friendships, and things of that nature. But communication is always a key factor in any situation in life, being effective with it. Making sure that you know how to effectively express yourself and say the things that you would hope that the other person that you're communicating with or the other people that you're communicating with are great listeners. And also that you are a great listener. And so we want to touch into that topic and subject because oftentimes, again, people think that because they talk a lot that they're good communicators, and that is not always the case. So the topic that I kind of want to touch on and the subject is how the art of communication can keep you from wasting your time. That can be for a job interview. It can be for a relationship, friendship, communication with your children, communication again with your spouse or your lover or someone who you're getting to know. It could be with a best friend. It could be with coworker. It could be with a boss. It can be with anyone in your life that you have an audience with, or you think you have an audience with, that you can actually go to and talk about certain things. And these are things that I've learned and picked up because I'm a very reserved person and I don't talk a lot. I listen more and I observe a lot unless I feel the need to talk and communicate. It just depends on the situation. And I'll share with you, if not today, but later on down the line, why I do that. There's a reason that I'm that way. Okay. But let's get into this, right? Because a lot of people, especially people who are single, people who are out here in the dating world, which is very, very shabby, people who are married, people who are in any type of relationship, whether it's work related, if it's ministry related, family related, any type of communication and how effective that can be. So I'm going to share a few thoughts about that. Okay. I found in my research and experiences in life, and this is just based off of what I have experienced, is that you'll come across a lot of people who talk a lot. Okay. They talk a lot. A lot of people you'll find they talk a lot about themselves. I'll share a scenario. If you're just getting to know somebody or you're dating someone or talking with them and they talk a lot about themselves, they probably deem themselves a good communicator. Okay. You will come across people who don't talk a whole lot. And people would say they're not a good communicator or that they are antisocial and things of that nature. And we're going to get into the topic of the difference between being antisocial and having social anxiety and being socially awkward. There is a difference. And that's why it's so important to do research and study and be educated so that you don't place labels on people based on how you feel about them without actually being knowledgeable in behavioral science. Okay. And so, like I said, a lot of times we automatically think that people who talk a lot are great communicators or that they're effective communicators. Well, with anything in life, there's an art to it, right? So if you've ever been in a lecture before, or if you've heard anybody minister, or you've ever been to a motivational speaking engagement, or if you are any of those people or that you've experienced that, you know that you can sit in a session while someone is talking. It could be in a classroom setting or whatever. And this person will talk and go on and on and on and on and on. And you don't get anything of what they're saying. Okay. Nobody's taking notes because they can't follow the person. And nobody's really getting anything out of the conversation except for key points. And that is a speaker that uses sensationalism when they're speaking. It may sound like they're talking in a circle or constantly repeating themselves, kind of in a mode of hypnosis. Okay. Some people would say that person is a great communicator. Like, oh my God, they spoke and they went on and on and on. We couldn't get enough of it. And you walk away with no takeaway from that message or that motivational speech or that class. You don't remember what the professor said. You don't remember what the facilitator said at all. You just don't remember. One thing that I used to do when my kids were little, especially my daughter, because I noticed that she had an art with writing, is that I would always, after church, on the way home, I would ask her to take notes. And this is when she was a little kid. When she first started writing, I'd say, take notes while we're sitting here. And I'd watch her. Okay. And I would say, just take notes while you're sitting here. And it didn't matter. I said, I don't care what you write down. Just take notes. Okay. And so later on that in the evening, on Sunday evenings, I would ask her and I would revisit to her either on the way home, during dinner, or whatever the case may be. I would always ask her, what did you learn today? What did you get from the message? Okay. And sometimes I would get, an answer. Sometimes I would get something that she learned. And sometimes I would get, I don't know what that person would, I didn't hear anything. Okay. The reason that I did that is I was trying to train her on how to learn, how to listen, how to get takeaway key points from when someone is teaching you something, talking to you, and communicating with you, whether they're an effective communicator or not. The reason why I was doing that is because oftentimes you'll find, especially with females or women, we encounter a lot of slickery in life, especially when it comes to men or boys that come into your life that try to slick you out of your purity or slick you out of whatever, your money, you name it. Okay. And I learned this lesson. And like I told you, I lost my father when I was a kid, but I learned so much. He taught me so much in that short time that he was here on earth, that I remember the things that he taught me, most of them. Okay. And so one of the things that I was taught was how to listen and effectively listen to someone when they're talking to you. Okay. Because whenever someone is talking to you, they're going, if you listen properly, they're going to tell you everything that you need to know about how they feel about you, what they think about you, whether they respect you or not, how they feel about themselves, how they feel and treat other people. All you have to do is listen. That's all you have to do. And the longer a person talks, the more that they reveal things about themselves. And so that's where the art of communication comes in. And that is where being a great listener is more important, and a great observer is more important than knowing how to talk or talking a lot. Because when you are talking with someone or having a conversation, they tell you everything about themselves. They tell you their motives. They tell you whether they like you or not. They tell you if they're in love with you. They tell you their intentions. Now, sometimes we ignore those things that they say because, as I stated before, we like that person. We want that person in our world, and we could care less what they say. Just be with me, right? But if we really sit back and observe and listen, 80% of communication is body language. You watch body languages, okay? And pay attention to what a person says and doesn't say. I go back and analyze every conversation and every encounter with people, especially when it is something that I just felt eerie about, okay? The reason that I do that is, I guess that's just the way my brain works, but I like to break down conversations and words, because you got people who like to use wordplay. You got people that are liars, and everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie. You got people who all they do is talk about themselves. Some people sit back and let you just talk and talk and talk and talk, and they're really not listening. They're just trying to make you think that they're listening so they can get in there, get a foot in the door, right? So it's so important to listen and learn how to take mental notes of the things that people say. If you listen to what people say when they're talking, you find out how they feel about certain things and topics and issues. You will find out if they respect all human beings. You find out if they have hatred in their heart. You find out what they are all about. So it's so important. So I have this one analogy, and I wrote this down so that I wouldn't forget that this is something really good that you can kind of generalize. And this is not for everybody. Everybody hasn't had these experiences. This is just for people who have had this experience and can kind of put the pieces together on how to get to the point where you learn how to become an effective communicator, how you learn the art of communication, and how you learn how to be a great listener. Okay. So I have a question that I wrote down, and it is, have you ever had sex with someone and they just disappeared? You don't have to answer that question out loud. You don't have to nod your head or anything, but that to me is a very, very good question. Okay. Especially for anybody who's up in age or of a mature age. I would say 30 on up, realistically speaking. First natural, then spiritual, right? Have you ever had sex with someone and they disappeared? And then you say to yourself, I thought they liked me, right? So you've been talking to somebody, you guys are getting along, you go on a date or two, or you hang out. You may have even met some of this person's family. And everything that up until a certain point you felt like was really good. Okay. You got along and everything just felt good. It felt right? Okay. Then you say to yourself, after they disappear, I didn't see that coming. Right? Like, how did I not see that they were going to do me like that, or that they were going to disappear or ghost me or whatever you want to call it, or dip in and out. Okay. It's because you weren't listening. We weren't listening. You weren't listening. Okay. If you go back and you think about the behavior of that person, okay? If you go back and you listen to and kind of recall the conversations that you all have had, they told you what they were going to do to you. They told you, okay? If you go back and you pay attention to, I'll share something with you. I was seeing a gentleman, and like I said, everything was going great. I thought that we were going to, you could tell that we had amazing chemistry, amazing about everything, everything. It just worked without forcing it. When you meet people and you're friends with them, it just worked without us trying. Everything was good. Okay. He made me laugh. I made him laugh. He liked my cooking, the whole 9 yards. Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking this could be something good. Okay. Now, mind you, because things were going so fast, they were going fast, like I mentioned before. Sometimes you meet people and things move really quickly, and sometimes things move slow. Okay. But everything was just clicking together. Everything was clicking together. Everything. Hear me when I say that. But what I wasn't paying attention to, because everything was moving so fast, was those little verbal cues that he was throwing out. I was missing that because everything was moving so fast, and because I had so much other things going on in my personal life and all of that, I was missing the verbal cues. I was missing the things that he was throwing in, and I wasn't catching them. But when I actually sat back and I started kind of recalling some of the things, I was like, okay, so he said this, and it kind of blew over my head. Or he did this, and it just kind of blew over my head, and I dismissed it. And that's what I mean by not recognizing and not having effective communication with people. It doesn't take an overnight conversation until the sun comes up to get to know people. Oftentimes those conversations, unless it is your for real thing, boo thing for life, a lot of times those conversations are distractions. Okay. So we have to be careful with those things and what's being said in those conversations and what you're saying yes to and what you're agreeing with because you like this person and things are moving and feeling good. So that's the intention of me wanting to share and talk about this particular topic. And we're going to get in more depth about communication and how to effectively listen. The most important component of great communication and effective communication is being a great listener. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and before you could even finish your last word, they're jumping on top of whatever you said because they weren't listening? They found 2 or 3 words that you said, and before you could even finish what you were saying, they already had a rebuttal and an argument and a debate formed of 1 or 2 things that you said, dismissing everything else that you stated because they weren't listening. They weren't listening. And this can happen in relationships that are good relationships. Sometimes you just miss it. You miss the point. You miss your partner's what they're really saying. Sometimes people talk without even saying anything. And so that is why it is so important to learn these healthy behaviors, even if you weren't taught them growing up, even if you haven't forced yourself to get strong in that particular area. If you want well-formed and healthy relationships, having a lot of friends doesn't mean that you're an amazing person. That could mean that you're a bully and you have attracted flying monkeys around you so that you could do your dirty work through them, right? So that doesn't always mean that you are a good you're a good communicator and you're a great person. You just got people to surround you to do your dirty work for you. And so that's someone who is not a good communicator. So, well, because what they do is they send the message out through those people. They're called flying monkeys. That term comes from the movie The Wiz with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. Go back and watch it if you've never actually watched it before. You will hear in a lot of counseling sessions that people will talk about that when they're being healed from abusers and narcissists and psychopaths and sociopaths and been involved in any type of domestic abuse environments, because that is the type of behavior that those character traits, people with those character traits have. A lot of times they are bullies, and they get people around them that are their friends that do their dirty work for them. Okay. And so we're going to get in depth with that too, because a lot of people don't know what a flying monkey is. And real quick, I'll share this and then we'll close this recording out. Because people don't know. Okay. And so we need to know and be aware of this. A flying monkey is someone who is kind of like a flunky. So you got the head of a group. You got the head of a clique. You got the head of anything in life that it has a head. It has a root. Okay. And then around them, they build a fortress around them of people to do and their dirty work, meaning that they send a message out to all of their flying monkeys. And normally when it gets to you, especially if it's about you or something like that, it comes from a flying monkey. It comes from them. So if you're not smart enough, or if you're not well versed enough in the science of the behavioral science methodology, you won't see where it came from. So you got all these people that are saying and treating you a certain way, and you're wondering, well, where is this coming from? Because there's got to be a source. It's coming from the leader of that pack. They're not doing anything. They've already sent the message out, and they use their workers to do the dirty work. That's what a flying monkey is. It is someone that carries a bone. It is someone who carries gossip. It is someone who mistreats someone that's been targeted for abuse and bullying. And because it's so many of them, you don't know where it's actually coming from, but it's coming from one person or one entity or one spirit. Okay. And that's what a flying monkey is. And the head of a group of flying monkeys is a person who throws a rock and hides their hand. It is someone who throws gossip out there to, a few people, and they take it and run with it. Okay. And antagonize that person or those people for whatever reason. So that's what that is. And that's a person that actually has a gift of communication. And a lot of times they just don't know how to use it correctly. They really don't. They use their power in a negative way, in a demonic way. So that's what that is. And that's where that term comes from. It comes from the movie The Wiz. So if you guys haven't ever watched that movie, watch it again. I always watch movies, and I always pray before I watch a movie, and I ask God to show me what the meaning of what do you want me to see out of this? Because a lot of times there's a message in everything. Everything has a message. Everything has an agenda. Everything has a purpose. And before I went to counseling years ago, I watched this movie and I saw that. You got a head entity, and then you have what they call flying monkeys or workers. And that's basically how that works. And a lot of times those people are very, very gifted in that area. They just don't know how to use it in the right way. And they get better results by using it in an evil way than using their gifts the way God intended it. So without getting all into that, because we're gonna do a video talking about bullies and evil entities and the people that surround them and do their dirty work for them. I think that's really important as well. But getting back to communicating effectively, always, if you can, if you have time, like I said, some things move so fast that you really don't have time to analyze and break them down. They really do. And the reason that I know about this is because I've gone through it. It's happened to me. I'm a human being. And so I try to learn through my experiences. I'm by no means a clinician in psychology or sociology, but I am a student of life. And I experience things and I take them and I say, okay, so what is this supposed to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Why did I accept this behavior? Why did I allow this person to do this or say this without me stopping it where it should have been stopped? And that's in the very, very beginning, because people show you those signs in the very, very beginning. But like I said, when you're wanting to have a relationship with a person, because none of us are perfect, you don't always know who you're really, really dealing with. You really don't. And so you can't close yourself off from the world and society and say, I'm not talking to nobody else. I'm not dating anybody else. I'm done. That's not the way to live your life. You have to open up your heart space in order for the right person to come along. And hopefully, because you have kissed a lot of frogs, that you've learned from that experience. Somebody shared something with me one day. They were like, how many bum bumps do you need to get before you realize that, that you're not choosing, your picker is off, you're not choosing right. Give it to God. How many frogs do you need to kiss to get to your prince? And so it's good to analyze. It's good to do self-evaluation without pointing the finger on other people, saying what they aren't and where they failed and what they did to you, and also self-examine yourself. And don't get me wrong, there are some people out here that are out to mess you up and turn your world upside down. And sometimes it's not your fault. Like I said, sometimes you just don't know, and sometimes people fool you. But I do believe that in listening to the verbal cues that people give you early on in relationships will really help you save time on whether or not you want to continue down a rabbit hole or we want to be elevated to glory. There is a huge difference. And it's good to study yourself so that you can recognize that in the early stages of getting to know someone. That is really, really important. So hopefully this will help someone out there in doing my self-evaluations and checking myself and trying to improve on myself and my communication skills, and just learning how to take my time and really listen in on what people say when they're talking to you can be very beneficial to you in the dating process, when choosing a job or a career, when choosing a church to belong to, any decision that you make in life. Listen first. Listen, really learn and hone in on how to become a great listener, because when you're a great listener, you become an excellent, skillful, and effective communicator. It's so, so very important. So communication is the key to intimacy. Okay, so that is a really, really amazing topic. We're going to come on and talk more about communication, the art of communication, the benefits of great communication, and how to become a great communicator or a better communicator and more effective communicator. Okay, but I just wanted to come on and share that I had a humongous conversation with someone about communicating and getting to know people and things of that nature. And it was a beautiful, beautiful conversation, an exchange of experiences, and agreeing to disagree, but welcoming two people's different observations and opinions, and coming together and say, I never looked at it that way. Well, I never thought about it that way. And so with that, I will leave you and say thank you for watching. I hope that this helps someone. We're going to continue with talking about communication, talking about the behaviors in us that attract the wrong people, how you attracting the wrong people into your life does not mean that there's something broken on the inside of you. We're going to get into that because I hear a lot of people talking about the reason that you keep attracting the wrong people in your life is because of what you're not doing and what you're not healed from. And I disagree with that. And we're going to come on and talk about that too. That video I'm going to upload within the next couple weeks or so. But I wanted to come on today and talk about communication, effective communication, the art of communication, and the art of being a great listener. This is Color Me Bad Lynn saying thank you guys for watching. I greatly appreciate your love and your support. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so each and every time I upload a new video, you will be notified. And if you can't watch it right away, you can save it for later. And make sure you hit that subscription button. Welcome to Color Me Bad Nation. God bless you guys. Peace.